Okay, microphone working? Excellent. The talk, when I was asked to write the thing here, was originally one of those niggly talks where I wanted to list all the terrible things that are happening, that we're doing and we're not changing, like this picture here, like hanging a bit askew. And it was because I live in London and I'm being rained on. It was full of like anger and unhappiness, like basically our mode of living. And then something happened the last 5 days. I had a holiday, which I didn't have for 5 years, because we're always traveling, we're always busy, and we're thinking we're at conference, and it is a holiday, and it isn't. So the last 5 days I spent doing this, and that is really what it looked like. It was pink sand in Harbor Island in the Bahamas. And to prove you that I'm not one of those speakers that shows you just some pictures from a collection you can buy, I can prove it by having a picture here. So that's Happy Chris, or Smug Chris, with my beard growing and stuff, and I wondered why I came here. And I came here because I love you and I love the web, and I love seeing wonderful things that are happening here right now. And even on this island where connectivity was so terrible that I didn't even bother anymore, you cannot escape that you get the local Apple store and things like that, although it seems with the warm weather the Apple is a bit fatter than anywhere else. And I don't know what happened to that Android. My favorite is the keyboard with my one row of keys. I've never seen that before. But that's all beside the point. Because what we want to talk about here are actually, we're celebrating the most beautiful websites. And I looked at the awards, like the categories, and I looked at those websites, and I needed a lot of time looking at them. First of all, to appreciate what people are doing, what they were trying to do. But the biggest thing that I found, that most of what we consider beauty here, after we exhausted fonts and images, is about the interactivity. A lot is about gorgeous interactions, like the little details of menus flipping in and out, and transitions, and these kind of things, the things that make all the difference to make something look human and natural, rather than just a computer telling us, please enter stuff and get stuff out of it. A lot of the interaction that I've seen is with fidelity and interactivity that before HTML5 was only possible with Flash. And I was a big proponent of HTML5. I help with a lot of the APIs that we have right now that we can use. And I also one of those people that always calls out people when they say like, oh, well, computers don't know about geolocation. And they're like, they did since Netscape 3.5 actually, Firefox 3.5. And it's not only the coolest, newest phones that have all these things are available web-wide right now. But what I found most is that we started to implement a lot of the stuff that Flash had done. So if you allow me to show that thing quickly to you right now, what you can do nowadays with a computer, with a browser, if you do it properly, and sorry, this is taking a while right now, so you can see the fidelity that we have in HTML5 and that browsers can do for us is quite amazing, and that's really unfortunate right now, but sorry about this. But it's getting there, and it's going to be amazing. I promise you this, because this is what computers are doing. And it's good to show people that something is happening as well while we're doing this. I mean, Patrick talked about this a bit. This is really awkward. And there you go, it's completed. And you know, I don't have anything to show. So this was terrible, but this is what you do with every single user out there right now. The amount of sites that I saw that get prizes and their most amazing things on a normal connectivity when I'm traveling is this experience. And we tell people, please look at our stuff for 3 minutes while in the background your money is ticking. And we became very self-important about this. This is a shit experience. No matter, you can put puppies on that thing, you can put like elephants on it, it doesn't matter. This is a terrible experience. You make your problem your end user's problem, and the internet is full of spinners, and is full of percentage bars that don't even show the percentage of loading, they're just animated, and then at the end of it they get stuck for like 50 minutes. You know, like the person that did that file copy thing in Windows, I never want to invite them to a party, because he'd be like, I'll be there in 5 minutes. No, 37 minutes, 2 hours 10. I might be there in 10 seconds. No, actually it's 2 hours again. But we do these things to our end users because we are too close to the subject matter. We love to put things in, but we never put ourselves in the shoes of our end users. And that's terrible. I call that inspirational obesity. We made the web in our image, which is obese, and we turned the web into a lifestyle magazine that spies on us, rather than something for the user, by the user. The web is a read-write experience, so all of our interactions should also be about interaction with the site, maintenance of the site, but we concentrate mostly on consuming. And this is not clickable posters that we're doing. We're doing interactive things that we hand over to other people for maintenance. Why did this happen? How come the web has become so slow and so obese? And to put that in context, I was in Albania the other day, and with my very expensive English mobile contract, because I wanted to have a lot of countries, like America coverage and stuff, the average website, and that's the average one, that's not the offensive ones in terms of file size and HTTP requests, and Patrick talked about this a bit, would have cost me the same as a ticket to the cinema in London, which is probably 4 times the price that you pay for a cinema here. So your website probably should be as beautiful as Grand Budapest Hotel, because otherwise I'd be pissed. One of the main problems is the web isn't as cool as it is any longer, as it used to be. People talk about VR and people talk about drones and, oh, look, I can control robots with my JavaScript. Nobody talks about building websites any longer, and we feel inappropriate because we were the cool kids. You know, we were the ones that replaced print. We were the ones that replaced television and radio. We were new media. Remember when we called us that? Like new media websites, these kind of things. And nowadays it's all about like apps, mobile phones, embedded systems, virtual reality, and which we think we're falling behind. So what we do is we put a lot of gimmicks and we put a lot of things in our websites and make them look better. Parallax scrolling, ooh, this is amazing, except when it jiggles around because your computer fan is blowing up and your battery is being drained in the background while you're trying to find that one address of the restaurant where you wanted to go tonight. It's like, no, I didn't want a video of your kitchen. I hope the kitchen is clean. That's all I want to know. I want to know how to get there and how to reserve a seat. If those things are not the first things on my mobile phone, you failed as a designer and as a developer. And the problem is also that we're spoiled. We've got great mobiles, tablets, we've got great hardware and fast connection. Somebody earlier said like, well, this is only a slow computer. You probably have a better setup when you use your designs. This is a 4-core machine with 16 gigabyte of RAM. And I carry this thing around with me all the time. How amazing is this? And you go to places like India and you go to places like Africa and you show them this computer and they're like, there's no way I can ever afford this. Even going to Greece or even going to Poland, you pay about 4 times as much for one of those computers that you would do in America. That's why you buy them in America and you leave the original packaging there so customs in England doesn't drag you out of it. But we're getting used to this. We think this is the norm. We're building our websites on a 100 megabit connection in the office, and everything is smooth and beautiful, and our end users, well, if they don't have 100 megabit, they're not our users. Pfft, who wants those, you know? They're those people that click on ads rather than blocking them. Who would do that? And it's a creative monoculture. I'm not naming any names or products here, but it's very common that you see the same computers everywhere at these conferences, the same build tools that only work on one operating system, and the same set of tools that we just expect people to have and expect people to use, instead of using open formats and instead of optimizing for everybody and not for one machine at one time. When I see somebody saying, like, we built this website for an iPhone 6, well, good luck when the next iPhone comes out. This is not a website. Every time you say you need this hardware or that browser to see our website, you didn't build a web product, you build a prototype, and you're trying to sell it as a web product. I don't say that you have to support Safari, Firefox, or all these, or one browser. You just have to support all of them. You don't have to support all of them in the same way, and that's the beauty of the web. You have to support them according to what they can do. And you can only know that when you try them and when you take yourself out of our beautiful monoculture and our beautiful fast connectivity and try your products out in the way that end users out there are using it. Go to the shop, buy a €100 Android phone, and feel their pain. It's not fun, but feel their pain. If you optimize your thing to work fast on that hardware, it will work like a dream on the others as well. And not just tell them like, well, you need a new phone to look at my website. You need to be another company to get my money. The web can surprise you, and that's the great thing about the web. There's a great story that I found the other day about a company in New York called Ignitor, which already is a name that I stumble over every single time because it sounds like it's a website to set fire to people or something like that. Ignite her. I don't know. But what it was actually a dating website. And it had a bit of a twist, as they all have to do, because the dating market is super effective and super competitive. It was a group dating site. So instead of paying people, we have one-on-one dates, we go out as a group and we organize ourselves as a group and maybe some coupling will happen. and not just like, oh, one person. And originally it was people in New York making this website and doing it for the Jewish community, where Jewish moms are not that happy if their daughters go, but if they go with 5 friends to somebody else, who knows what might happen, that's fine. And the problem with it was, of course, that other than the logo and the name, was that it was founded in 2008, and at the end of the year it had 50,000 users. And that's, in the dating scene, rather unfortunate. Because 50,000 users is nothing. This is basically you failed. Most of them start preceding it with databases that already exist, or they have, like Ashley Madison case, they had like 70% in the dating site was bots talking to each other, just to keep the thing going and show investors how many users they had. But they were basically dead in the water, and they were ready to turn off the website and say like, okay, we failed, sorry about this. But then they realized that there's a spike in traffic from Singapore, Malaysia, India, and South Korea. Spikes from time to time, and they're like, yeah, whatever, spam bots or whatever, I don't care. This is not our market, we're in New York, we should spend another $400,000 to go to a bar and give out free drinks to promote our product instead, which they did. But then they realized this spike happens all the time, at certain dates, at certain days of the week. And then they pivoted to cater to these markets. So Ignitor became Stepout, which now has 2 million users and 7,000 daily signups on average. So by understanding that people from the web, outside your comfort zone, come to your product, they found a market. And they basically said, like, okay, we could fold this up, or why don't we just help people, get some developers from these markets in, some designers from these markets in to help us how to make the thing look, rather than just like, oh, this is how it looks in New York, everybody has to love it. They made a really good move to actually become a successful website without knowing that there was a market for them out there. And that's something that I think we should think much more about it. It's the web, not one market, not one mobile phone. Growth happens where you're not thinking of right now, in badly connected countries with millions of potential users. India, Africa, Indonesia, Bangladesh, all the places on the map where we don't care about because our projection of the map is a political statement that Europe is the most important thing on this planet. The things that are folded on the side, but if you turn the Earth, they're actually much, much bigger than we are, and they have much, much more users. The problem there is that the connectivity is terrible. So what a lot of people are using are pre-rendering browsers, pre-compiling browsers. So your JavaScripts, your CSS, your stuff does not get loaded at all. Your images get down optimized. They look terrible for us, but for them it's the only way to reach the thing. And if your website means that you have to download an image to make sense out of it, you just locked out a lot of potential users that you don't even know about yet. It's time to burn some of the fat of the web. I think that's our biggest problem. We put more and more things in because we're trying to beat the virtual reality and 360 video and beautiful things out there, rather than understanding the leaner, the more responsive, and I'm not saying responsive design, responsive to the end user's environment our websites are, the more we have a survival tactic for the next few years. And I see a crash coming again. I worked through the first .com boom in 2000, and I survived it without having any loss or anything like that, and I see it again now. There is no way a company can be $18 billion for a chat client. We'd inflate our market right now and be more impressive to each other. So we have to actually think about what we're doing in the next 5-6 years, and I think the best thing to do is to get leaner in what we do and clever in what we do. The average website doesn't look fit. It's 2.2 meg, and 1.4 meg of that is images. And a lot of it can be easily optimized. 1.4 meg of images, wrong file formats. The amount of PNGs that are 24-bit PNGs, although they don't need any transparency, and they're just photos of a beach or something like that out there, is incredible. The people who upload BMP images embedded in Word documents when you ask them for a logo, these things still happen. People optimize something as a GIF, and then as a GIF, and then they save it as a JPEG again. That's two battling algorithms, compression algorithms. It will just look shit no matter what you do. WebP, another interesting new format that now is supported by almost all browsers. Delivering scaled high-res images to everybody. I show something on the client on an iPad with a retina display, so this 6,000 pixel image probably should be sent to a mobile phone as well, right? We can resize it in HTML, not a problem. I've seen logos this big that were like 16 megabyte big. We once found a fav icon, you know, the icon in the toolbar on the browser, with 25 megabyte. And that logs every single HTTP request on that site would try to load that thing first of all. So if you have a very low-end phone that doesn't allow for 25 megabyte of image caching, that thing would try to load every single time, basically telling them the website is not online. No automatic conversion and optimization steps. We allow people to upload images, but we don't automatically generate these other formats for them. We don't analyze these images and see how much we can shave off. And there's gulp tasks, there's grunt tasks, there's Image Optim is a great program for that. You just drag a folder of images in it, and it optimizes it visually unchanged. It does all the things it can do without changing the look and feel of that photo, but most of the time, 30–40% of the data is gone, of the width is gone, of the fat is gone. And we have a hero image instead of text content. That always cracks me up. When the tablet form factor made everybody get me one beautiful image, and then I have to scroll 3 pages before I get the first text. I don't want to load your images when I'm on the go. I want to know what your site is about. I want to know the main thing, why I should go there, what I should do there, and why I should stay there. And this is not a hero image. I didn't go there to download images. I went there because I want to buy a ticket. I went there because I want to see a play. I went there because I maybe want to see your site. But then please don't shove everything in my face on the first load. 357K of scripts, that's actually less than I thought would be, and I'm quite sure, since we do new ones right now, there's much more out there. The other day, NASA.gov in America had 3 megabyte of unpackaged and unminified JavaScript. They put Ember and jQuery into one file and put it into a blocking file in the head of the page rather than at the end of the page. So when you loaded the website, it took up to 16 seconds of darkness before the first text appeared. I guess it's to tell people what space is like, or something like that, but this is just very simple things to fix. We start with libraries because browsers that are dead and we don't even bother to test on. People use jQuery because then IE8 is supported, I don't have to worry about it. Fornicate IE8, let it go, it's dead. We're not supporting it anymore and we built that thing. There's no point putting one library in there to support something you don't want to test on. If you say you're supporting something, you just subscribe to testing on that thing. You just signed up for being responsible that it also works on that thing, and no library can do that for you. So think about that first. Why are you using that library? For developer convenience? Or because you're really solving a problem. If you're not solving a problem, get rid of that thing and learn your JavaScript and learn how to use it, but I'm coming back to that later. Using frameworks built for complex forms to create static websites. I see people using React to build static websites. What's wrong with you? Why would I ever do this? This is ridiculous, but it's a cool thing, and I put it on my CV now. I work with React until the next framework comes around and the next thing is out there. Static websites are static. That's what we have HTML for. And if you can make them as static as possible, they get cached everywhere. And your servers don't get hammered by every end user out there. It's very simple to make a static website, but there are 976 at the last count that I did of static website generators out there. Somewhere along the way, we got too excited about building new tools. Using scripts to create fixed layouts dependent on screen resolution. So instead of just saying like, okay, this needs to be a breakpoint and allow CSS to do it, we do things like, I don't know, the JavaScript libraries that give you the full screen resolution of different images and resize them, which is beautiful on a desktop, beautiful on a high-end tablet, eats your battery like nothing on a low-end Android phone. And why not just stack the images on that thing and only give it to the beautiful new ones, the ones that support Flexbox, instead of shoehorning that functionality into older browsers. And of course, social media buttons and tracking. That's the biggest problem on this planet right now. Share this with Twitter is sometimes a 2 megabyte JavaScript, and you're like, really? This is a REST API. This could be a URL. And I wrote a WordPress plugin that does it like that. I don't need JavaScript to share something on Twitter. The browser does this for me. But because we want to control the look and feel, and we want to have a gray button and show the follower count and all these things, this is like the, you know, when in the 90s we had this like the visitor counter things on the bottom of the page, it's as embarrassing. But we love it because it gives us insight of what users are coming to our page, and we can make great presentations to our bosses like, oh, look how many people love our website. We don't tell them how many we lost because of that button, because they waited for 20 seconds for that button to load before the text of the page shows up. Video, background video without testing the connection or resolution. There was a style guide from Uber the other day that was like, had a 3 megabyte background video that was 0.2% opacity. So it was just a mood thing, and there was 3 megabyte to load to learn about how their style guide works. Unnecessary, really adds nothing to the experience. Auto-starting video instead of on-loading demanding. So the video loads, blocks the whole loading of the rest of the page, and then when the video is finally starting to kick in and my fan also starts, I can start reading your website. Instead of you read the website, when the whole thing has finished rendering, you start loading the video. Show an image, replace the image with the video. Once you know the connection is fast enough, and you can measure how long it took for the rest of the page to load. So if your first 50K of JavaScript come in and take 3 minutes, you probably shouldn't load the video. But if it comes in 20 milliseconds, you know there's a good connectivity, replace that image with a video, start playing with it. And a mood reel instead of simple text explanations. I blame Kickstarter for that. Remember when Kickstarter just had a few texts saying like, we built this, want to give us money? And now it's like this 7-minute video and like no text whatsoever. I don't even know what I'm supporting here. We fell back into advertising again, advertising our own products rather than just building something. Text is cool. Text means a blind person can hear what's going on your site. Text means I can use Google or Bing, whatever, to translate your site into my language. An image cannot do that for now, but we're working on that. But still, think about text every single time you think about the web, and think about wording. Use your words, as people keep saying. Fonts. Big issue, of course, we saw that earlier. People use a whole font when a few characters are enough. If you use Google Fonts, for example, you can define the range of the letters that you need. So instead of loading the whole UTF-8 character set, you just basically can load the numbers if you use them in your logo and things like that. So make sure that you cut down as much as possible on the font phase, because this is all binary data that comes down the line, and as we saw in Safari's case, blocks until it's available to actually see. Icon fonts instead of inline SVG. Icon fonts sound like a great idea, but they're a massive accessibility issue, and they're also an issue with CDNs and these pre-compiling browsers. They will not work. SVG inline will always be there. This is markup. This is XML. This is simple. We had that for a long, long time. And sending desktop fonts to mobile devices is another one, of course. Instead of having a mobile-optimized, very small font, I give it a huge thing with all ligatures and everything that you never see on a mobile phone at all. The biggest issue is maintenance. I'm not saying we're doing everything wrong. Most of the time, we're doing everything right, and then we have a content management system that we haven't even looked at, and the maintainers upload crap. And this happens all the time. I remember I did visitbritain.com. It was 12 templates, 140,000 pages in 72 languages, and I wrote 300 lines of CSS to cover all of it. Then I left the company. 3 months later, 17,000 lines of CSS and things like headline blue left aligned as the class names. It was just awful, because the maintaining is the thing we don't care about. Which is like, oh, somebody has a content management system and they will do it. People don't get taught how to live and love and be with their website. And that's why the talk earlier was great as well. Involve your clients rather than just being a deliverer to them. And stop blaming the end user. My favorite is when I see things like that. This website needs JavaScript, please enable it. It's like the arrogant ladies in Pretty Lady, you know, that in the shop, yeah, you probably should go somewhere else. You're obviously in the wrong place. Because there is no user that turns off JavaScript. These are only freaks. That's only 0.002% on this planet. The thing people you have to worry about is the ones that have JavaScript enabled and something along the way went wrong. And that's a big number because that's every JavaScript user. JavaScript is not fault tolerant. CSS and HTML, when there's a mistake in your HTML, the browser glosses over it, shows it. In CSS, the browser doesn't understand a line, goes to the next line. JavaScript, one line with an error, oh my God, I'm dead, I don't want to do anything any longer. And you cannot make a fault tolerant JavaScript. I hate when programs fall silently, because as a developer, I want to know when it went wrong. But this message is the worst thing you can put on the web right now, because you haven't understood your user and you haven't even understood JavaScript. And it also means if you put something in there, you have double maintenance, because you have the fallback content of JavaScript and the main content with JavaScript, instead of loading the content and then enhancing it when JavaScript is available. The same way, your browser doesn't support things, sucks to be you. You know, I had it the other day, like, this website needs WebGL. And the normal end user out there would probably go to the Play Store, to the Apple Store, and download the WebGL app, because they don't know what WebGL is and they don't need to know. It's a technology that we are using. So what you do is like you test for it, you show the WebGL animation when it's supported, and you show an image or a video of it when it's not supported. You give that to the end user that they can consume. You don't make your problem their problem. Browsers changed a lot. All of them are evergreen, capable, and open. A lot of them are open source. A lot of them you can look into. So forget about these browsers that hated us as developers and designers. Don't support them any longer. Support them with what they can understand. HTML, a bit of CSS. Don't give them animations. Don't give them massive images. Don't give them things that they might have a problem with, because you don't want to test for those. Internet Explorer 8 and 9 are retired. They should be on the field playing soccer with other old browsers. They should not be bothered with new content any longer. Internet users that are forced to use Internet Explorer 6 are not used to beauty. Don't give them anything beautiful, they would just get confused. They're used to gray buttons that have like 5 steps where it could be one drag and drop interface. And this is a great time to change our ways, because all browsers are good now. I give up on thinking about browsers. I wrote a lot of stuff for 3 browsers out there, and I'm still working for one, but I want you to forget that browsers exist. I want you to think about capabilities of devices, of JavaScript, of CSS, and all these. And all of these are testable. In CSS, you don't even need to do it. In CSS, if you do a gradient, and the browser doesn't know a gradient, it doesn't show it. So give it a background color, and then give it a gradient, and everybody is happy. Don't give it just a gradient, because then you have white buttons with white text, and that's not fun for anybody. So question the need for libraries. jQuery, now in the newest version, has no jQuery compat anymore. So the whole thing when people said, we need a jQuery because we want to support old browsers, gone, not working any longer. So you would have to keep an old version of jQuery in your website, which is a security problem and a performance problem and in general a problem. If you use libraries, keep those things up to date, and this lie is not here anymore. No library will help you with cross-browser support. Understand those browsers, understand capabilities. Feature detection instead of pretending to fix browsers. If thing, do the thing. If not thing, you probably don't need the thing. So if a browser has drag and drop, cool, test for it, then have a drag and drop interface. For the browsers that don't have it, have an upload button. The upload button, you can hide it in the ones that have drag and drop. But sometimes drag and drop doesn't work either because I'm on a touch device. So that upload button is still a good idea. Don't just say like your browser needs to do this to see our website. Nobody, it's not their job to jump through hoops for us. We are deliveries. We are a delivery format as developers, as designers. We are bringing people interfaces so they can be part of the internet, and that's the cool thing. And it's not up to us to tell them what they need to use. Learn ECMAScript 6. I'm not saying that all of you have become JavaScript developers, but the current version of JavaScript called ECMAScript 6, ECMAScript 7, ECMAScript 2015, there's lots of names for it. The whole idea about this one is JavaScript changed fundamentally, and there's lots of cool features in it, like promises, for example. All the new APIs that are coming out are based on those. So if you want to start with JavaScript right now, start here, because now everything will change, and the old stuff is not that necessary any longer, and we have great materials, free books, video series, everything out there. You don't need to be a programmer. You just need to know that we have asynchronous programming, and we have different ways of interacting with the website that we had before. So don't waste your time on learning something that is outdated. Great things to use right now, and I think I'm running out of time. Flexbox is great for layouts. It allows you to make very complex layouts that say, for example, a menu that needs needs to spread itself out over the whole page. You don't need a JavaScript or a jQuery plugin for that. Flexbox can do that. It also can say the first entry should be 3, the other one should be 1, and it would automatically do these things for you. Flexbox took ages to put inside browsers because it's a very complex algorithm for layouting, but it's there right now, so please think about it and use it. There's a great talk here in Amsterdam from Booking.com where they show how they use Flexbox already on this massive website, and with fallbacks, not fallbacks, but they make a design that is just stacked up, and with Flexbox it's next to each other, and they make it look good in both cases, so end users will never be the wiser, and you don't have to worry about the support. Service workers, we talked about that before. That is basically having an HTTP router in front of your website. So if you want to make things offline and offline available, you don't have to trust the browser anymore. You have control over this now. And there's many, many great things that you can do with that, like recompiling images on the fly if they're necessary, and all kind of interesting bits and bobs. Sometimes hard to understand, but again, understand it means that in programmatic, you have now programmatic access to the HTTP stack, which you never had before. Camera access. Why don't we allow camera access more? Only adult websites do that all the time. But we have a great thing. We have a thing on almost every computer has a camera, and that's an input device. You can even do things like I did security models where I needed random numbers. So instead of just generating random numbers, which is almost impossible on a computer, I asked people to wave their hands in front of a camera for 2 seconds as a login. And out of a sudden, I had a great encryption algorithm to make it safer. Picture element. Most important thing for people here right now. The picture element allows us to create images for all resolutions and different pixel densities without loading all of them, which we do right now. In a CSS, if you do it just with media queries, you load every single one of them, and then it only shows the one that is applicable, which is wastage. But with a picture element, much like a video element, it only loads the ones that at this time, at this device, are applicable. And the great thing about that is if you use WordPress, the image plugin, the responsive image plugin, is now part of the core. So the last update of WordPress automatically does that for you if people use WordPress in their maintenance to upload images. So you upload an image, it generates all the other images for you and shows the one that is the best for that device that it's showing there right now. And that's where I want to go with our tooling. Now, when I go out of my comfort zone, I love to work with people who are cleverer than me, which is easy because I'm not. And I also hire people that are better than me because I want them to take over from me so I can do other things, like living on the beach. That would be awesome. And right now I'm working a lot with the machine learning team because I have no idea what those people are on about. But I know how to talk to people. And I help them to translate what they do to humans and to use these systems and find use cases for the systems that we have. And there's a few things. I mean, this is all what I'm working with right now, but there are many providers, so you can use a lot of them out there. Speech and language recognition is an interesting one. You automatically detect that a text is in a certain language, and you can change the rest of the interface around it, for example. Or you understand the impacts of your design on it. Never ever in Bangladesh show somebody that their name in red, because they will only see their name in red. Well, they won't. Their family only will see a name in red once, and that is on the coffin. You never print, basically you wish somebody death by showing their name in red. In China, red means good luck. So we put it as a warning image there, like, oh, we just lost 70 terabytes of data. Good luck. You know? Make sure that you know these kind of things. Facial detection and recognition, that's pretty cool. That's the stuff that we do at airports as well, where you have to take off your glasses and put down your hair and these kind of things. So this is an open API on Project Oxford, which detects faces in images. And this is pretty cool, for example, to say you could center the image there then. Or you could say, okay, there's 3 people on that one. Do you want to tag those people? The more meta content we can put on images in our content management system, in our upload steps, the easier they will be to find later on. So it finds several people, and it verifies faces as well. So once I know a face, it will tell me in 2 images saying, like, yeah, that's the same person. So next time somebody uploads an image, oh, that's Paul, Stephen, and Jessica, shall I automatically tag that for you so you don't have to type it in again? How cool is that? And the verification works with several images or just one as well. And that also works in video now. Emotion recognition gets rather creepy, but funnily enough, it really works. So you have faces, and it tells you like how much anger, disgust, fear, and all these things are out there. This is good for like feedback mechanisms and things like that, but it also is quite fun because you can tell people, okay, where are all the happy photos? Where are all the sad photos? Where are all the photos where people are scared? You can automatically put them into different parts of your database by running this API over it and just analyzing what's going on in there. And I found this really, really surprising how obvious and how well that works. Other things that are available are image analysis and conversion. So in this case, you have a video here of somebody swimming, and it automatically realizes this is a man at a certain age swimming in water. Other things it realizes this is a line painting, this is an image. It also finds all the colors of the image. So if you want to do a fallback color before you actually load the image, you can do it with this API instead of analyzing it yourself in Photoshop or picking a color in it. It also tells you if the image is adult content or if it's racy content, which might be a good thing to not show to several markets, for example. So this one has been detected not as adult content, but as racy content because it's a half-naked woman, which probably you shouldn't show on your website version of the United Emirates or something like that. There's an API to detect text in images, so you just click on that and you get the text that is in the image as an alternative fallback, for example, or that Google gives you some love for your images that you upload. And there's also an API which I love the most, is the thumbnail API. So instead of making a thumbnail where you resize the images to all the sizes and make it completely unusable, it detects, for example, that the puppy is in there and makes or the person is in there and makes the thumbnail around that person, rather than just resizing the whole images and make the person really, really small. So it's a clever way to create lots of content after upload for your end users, rather than keeping it up to them to maintain them, because they won't. And what we built with these things is, for example, howold.net as a demo, where you upload images and it tells you how old these people are, which went rather viral because a lot of times it did the mistakes and made people older than they are, and there was a bit of outrage, like, oh my God, we only do this to collect lots of photos. And you're like, yeah, you upload stuff to Facebook, right? Yeah, same thing. So you upload an image there and it tells you which gender and which age that person is, and it's just a few years off in my case, but this was also an old photo, so it's actually not too bad. The other thing I worked on was mymustache.net, where you upload images and it detects the facial, it does the facial recognition, and then it goes a bit lower and sees if there's facial hair. And then it tells you if the mustache is bushier than other mustaches and not. And we did this for the Movember thing, for people who donated money for that one as well. But it was a really interesting exercise to go from the just finding out where the nose and the eyes and the mouth are, and then finding the hair accordingly. And when you don't have a mustache in that one, then we've detected where your nose ends, and we paint a mustache on you if you wanted to have one. So I think I'm doing this here right now as the demo, yeah? So this is me right now, and I don't have a mustache normally, because I'm not that German. And then it found my face and paints a SVG mustache on me, and now I got a great mustache to put on Facebook. Silly, but a great opportunity to show people how these APIs work, and all of this has been documented, how this was written, how this was used. And the thing it was missing, there was just an upload button. So I'm like, why don't we use the camera? And they're like, oh, it's tricky. So I wrote this 100 lines of JavaScript that you can use in your page to enhance an upload button to a camera. And that used to be this like massive, this is how it works in Firefox, this is how it works in Safari, this is how it works in Chrome. All of those have been standardized right now, so you can use these few lines of JavaScript to enhance any upload form that you have in case people want to take a photo of themselves right now. Works on a mobile device, and the fun thing is if the browser doesn't support it, the start camera and stop camera button just does not appear. And this is what I want us to think about. Not use functionality, we'll only use it when it's available. If the end user has no camera, or I can't detect it, or there's a problem with it, an upload button is good enough. But a button saying like you need a camera to do this would be depressing, because I don't want to buy a camera just to use your website. I think it's up to us to keep the web exciting and usable for the next generation of users. And this is not by shoving gimmicks in their face, this is by knowing what limits their environments have and how we can help them step by step to get better and get faster results. And more importantly, we have to teach our clients not to clog up the web after we gave them a beautiful experience. It's unfair that every 3 years we have to delete things from our CV because we don't want to be connected with the stuff we built back then because the maintainers completely messed it up. It's not about who's the prettiest. I think the future and the nearer future is about who performs best, is the most accessible, and is usable by all kinds of people, not only the ones who are already bored of it. You will not get kids in San Francisco excited with a static website nowadays, but you will get somebody in India, in Bangladesh, in Africa. They need this stuff. For them, Facebook is not something to put emoji on there and tell people funny stories. This is where they find news. This is sometimes the only way for them to talk to the world because the rest of the media in their country is being blocked. So it's up to us to enable people to consume and to be part of the web and to maintain the things that we sell them rather than sell them things every 2 years and hope they don't mess them up too much. Checklist for 2016. Assume capable browsers. Stop trying to detect browsers. You will not succeed. Browsers lie to you all the time. Assume that the browser is good if it's an unknown browser. Don't even bother detecting if it's Chrome, if it's Safari or something like that. Do feature detection rather than browser detection. Cut down as much as you can. If you can remove something, remove it. Probably you're excited about it. Most of your end users in testing will show you they're not excited about it or don't even know what it is. Use cloud services and automation to optimize your content. As I showed you, we can put so much meta content around our images by using open APIs, rather than just like doing it by hand or hoping the maintainers do it. It's much easier to have like an image associated with the colors in it when it's automated, for example. Leverage new tech like service workers, look into that, and there's going to be massive amount of libraries, helper libraries soon. And stop pretending everything is an iPad, because the iPad sales are falling apart right now. Just because we have these things doesn't mean everybody has it. And a parallax image with like the image loading for every page, that's cool on a tablet. It's annoying as hell on my desktop machine. And on my mobile phone, you're really wasting my time. And that's all I have, so thank you very much.